Would you like to work closer to home, save money on gas, and be rewarded for your hard work and attendance? Then Bellisio Foods is looking for you. That's right, Bellisio Foods is now hiring for multiple positions and shifts with great employee benefits, an on-site health clinic, competitive wages, and advancement opportunities. Bellisio Foods is a company that truly values their employees. Apply online at BellisioFoods.com/careers.
At Vinton County National Bank, we believe in supporting the areas where we live and work. Now, we'd like to honor those who also serve our communities. Our new Community Champions account is especially for first responders, veterans, active military, and anyone employed in the fields of healthcare or education. This account offers rewards, discounts, and other benefits to those who give so much to others. Vinton County National Bank, rewarding those who serve.
Well, happy Friday, everyone. A snowy Friday. It's, shall we say, don't be deceived, it's slick. I about busted my rear end in the parking lot, but that's a whole other story, and that would have just been funny. Sort of, if I didn't kill myself.
No one's injured.
No, we don't. Yes. But no, welcome. It's great to be back, and I thought Toledo, Ohio was bad. Well, it's way worse in Jackson, believe it or not. We were at a convention in Toledo for the past few days, and we're now back. And but we are blessed with some wonderful guests here in the studio this morning, and we're going to be talking about something that can get you out of a little bit of trouble, maybe. And our guests, of course, today are Jackson County Municipal Court Judge Mark Musick and our Jackson County Clerk of Court, Seth Michael. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, okay, why are they coming in together? So I started thinking, okay, what possibly? And then I realized you guys are collaborating on something. And, I think that happens a lot in, politics and whatever, county office where, Seth with the clerk of courts, Judge Musick, you may assess a fine or something, but Seth's the guy that gets the money and all this stuff, or sort of, and allocates it and whatever. So y'all do work together quite a bit. And I think a lot of people don't understand how that is. And when someone says, wait, a judge and the clerk of courts are collaborating on something, what? How is that a thing? So tell us what you guys are up to. And this is to help you, actually.
Okay, well, we set aside a day on February 2nd. We looked at the docket and said, well, we need a clear day. We're going to devote to this. And Nate Miller came up with February 2nd, which is Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day.
So it has a name.
Yes.
An alternative or something to help people remember when to go. And, after the groundhog comes out and either sees or doesn't see its shadow, the festivities of the day are over. So
it happens pretty early. So
yeah. So we've got the rest of the day to do something. And I called Seth and we just talked about maybe partnering to create a clear path for people to know they can come in. And if they want to start at the municipal court, perhaps there'll be people there to help them with special problems with driver's licenses. It all revolves around driver's licenses not having one or being suspended or blocked or 3 or 4 other words that they use to kill your license.
The official words, yes.
Yes, the official words. And, we try to give them advice or fix things or set them up, license repair. And then down on Seth's end, we send him down there and he can explain what he can do and what he can't do. But he's the guy that puts everything in perspective at the end. And I don't want to say mop up kind of the details for people, help guide them. And he has to communicate with the BMV about all that, and he can explain all that.
Yeah, because it might get a little confusing as to how this all works together.
Sure. And, there's a misconception over the years. Jackson was fortunate enough for years to have a reinstatement office. And it was a regional reinstatement office. So it was one reinstatement office for like 16 counties.
I didn't
So
know
There were
that.
yeah,
only four. There were only four in the state.
yeah, and
Really?
yeah, so they closed that in approximately 19. I don't remember exactly the year. And what they essentially did was they became more efficient. And they put the functions of the reinstatement off on the deputy registrars. But what they didn't, but what,
Lucky you,
yeah,
More,
yeah.
more
right?
local.
But what they didn't necessarily do is give us the tools that we need because we don't have access to that. Most of the reinstatement functions are done through the lead system, which is a court or a police system, and we don't have access to that. But we are the connector for that.
Okay.
So I've got the information on what we provide, the connecting, how we can connect you, how you can make things easier so you're not making 4 or 5 trips. But as far as the approval, the information, we don't actually have access to see that. There's not a magic computer that we can say, oh, we see it, but we can't tell you. We don't even have access, but we can get you in the right direction
Okay.
instead of you guessing.
Okay. And if just to back up in case some of our viewers don't know what the reinstatement office what that even is, what is that?
Essentially, the reinstatement office is a division of the Ohio Department of Public Safety that specializes in license blocks, registration blocks, warrants, and essentially, I mean, there are a multitude of reasons why you may be going to the reinstatement office, but it may be as simple as you got pulled over and didn't have proof of insurance, so now you've got to send them proof of insurance.
Yeah, or you're a dum-dum like me, and one time I had to have proof of insurance, and I sent them my newest card, and they wanted the older card from
Yeah.
like the year previous.
They wanted to see that you had
And then I
coverage
was
at that
like, oh my
time.
God, they were going to come and like steal my house and stuff, I thought, or like kill me or something.
Well,
So it's
and
scary.
that's what we just
And that's what you're doing.
Yes.
Somebody had a very good idea in around late 90s, 2000, and they created the reinstatement offices. And it was staffed by a bunch of very knowledgeable people, one of the four right here in Jackson for the region, and it was housed out at State Route 32. I think the George Davis
Mhm.
rental
Okay.
business is
Like
in
where
that same
where the
room.
art and craft mall used to be.
Right. And
Okay.
people would flock out there and they could get their questions answered, kind of what we're going to try to have available on Friday, Groundhog Day.
Yay.
But, and a BMV rep even coming to help us do that, among other people.
So you have reinforcements
we have
coming.
we have lawyers coming that do a lot of that kind of work from Southeast Ohio Legal Services. All the
Great.
clerks are very knowledgeable in this. All the probation officers, all the court administrators deal with some aspect of this. It's all about licensure. But the reinstatement offices were wonderful. You could go and straighten just about anything out.
Okay.
And then they had the power to do inputs and give immediate feedback. Well, somebody decided it would be better for the state to, and I don't know who decided it, but it was thought better to close those offices in the regions and put everything in Columbus and put those workers in reinstatement in the BMV. Now, that being centralized, Seth is trying to explain that he is a communicator for you, and the court can make orders. Some things I can order the BMV to do. Some things I can't, but we pretty well know what we can order them to do, and we do everything to try to fix a license. Seth processes those orders, and maybe I should let him speak to that because he's the processor, but he's not the guy that used to be at the BMV reinstatement office.
Yeah.
He's communicating to those people electronically, so the customer doesn't really get to talk to those people unless I don't even know if they go to Columbus if they can.
Which is frustrating.
Yes, and what even makes it more frustrating locally is people still think because we had a reinstatement office
Well, it's
so
how
long,
it was forever.
then we are still the reinstatement. But essentially, the theory is if you have a block on your license, whether it's from Judge Musick's court, whether it's from a mayor's court in a different county, whether it be from a different state, obviously the block itself and the order typically would have to be coming from the county or the office in which you have the block from. So we have a misconception a lot of times that people come in and they say, well, I have this in Athens County, but I'm from Jackson, he wouldn't give me an order. No, you have to go to Athens to get that order.
Yeah, and I think that is confusing to people. Well, I live here, so
Yes.
why can't I get it taken care of here? Because it happened somewhere else.
And the deputy registrar portion of it can happen at any registrar agency in the state of Ohio.
Right.
That part can happen anywhere.
You can think of that, what he just mentioned there, as a release. You got to get that release for a glitch, a hiccup,
Right.
Something you haven't
Those
taken
are
care
kind
of.
ways to put it.
Well,
Yeah.
sometimes we use different words for different
Yeah.
things. And so, if you owe the court in Athens County money for a ticket, you got to get a release from Athens County.
Okay.
Seth can process that release for you to the BMV because they'll give it to you, and my gosh, you don't want to lose it. They take it down.
And our processing is really simple. You come in if you have the documents that you need, or even if you don't. Sometimes people go, I'll try 3 times. We don't encourage that, but every time you come to our office, there's a $10 faxing fee to communicate with the state. So we send
Of course there is.
we send that
But-
that $10 is a faxing fee per day. So if you need to fax 13 times that day,
$10.
$10, and you bring your receipt in each time at the same agency. You can't fax at mine for 10 and then drive down to Gallia County and fax your next document.
Okay.
Same agency. We fax the documents that you want us to fax. We enter it into the computer. Within usually about a half hour, but on a busy day, maybe an hour, we get a faxed response back.
Oh, okay.
That we're not supposed to look at. We can't help you read it because it's not we are only the faxing agency. So what you basically have to pretend is the local deputy registrar's office is only your connector to the reinstatement. The same girl that would have done the reinstatement work here is doing it in Columbus.
And they're working off of faxes.
Of faxes, that is
Okay.
correct. So, but they will send it back.
They're not anointed. They're not anointed
Yes,
to give interpretation.
yes, because
I mean, it's cool.
something might come back and say you need an SR-22, but we wouldn't know whether that SR-22 is for a certain date or not. So we can't interpret what they're sending. The best way for people to handle this is you can create an online account through oplates.com. I will have step-by-step instructions on the
Okay.
February
That's
2nd.
a great website, by
Yes.
the way. For being a government website, let's just be honest, because some of them get really confusing.
Right.
It's a good one.
And they can literally see, it'll say, you are suspended, you owe $1,000 in reinstatement fees, and here are the 3 cases that are keeping you from having a license.
How do you get to that part? Like where?
So
Like if Jen just wants to go on and see if I'm in trouble and may not know it, how do I do it?
So I wrote it down. I could probably do it from memory, but I want to make sure. But it's essentially you're going to go to oplates.com
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to go to online services.
Okay.
And then once you go to online services, you have the ability to log in.
Okay.
And you either create a profile or you view it as guest. Now, you'll need the last 4 digits of your social.
Uh-huh.
You'll need your driver's license number, your birthday, and make sure it's spelled right.
Okay.
And then you come up and it'll say what type of license you have, whether you're valid, what vehicles are registered in your name, and then if you have any.
Great
Yes,
information.
it's great. And then what that tells people is if it says you have 3 blocks, one from this county, one from another county, and one from Pike County, really you need to go get those 3 blocks in 3 orders for us to release those blocks to
in
fax
each
up.
county
In each
that
county.
you have an issue.
Because if you only send up Jackson's, you may get a response. And again, I can't speak for this exactly, but you may get a response that says, congratulations, Jackson has been released, but you still don't have a license because you have Pike and Adams.
Okay, I gotcha.
So, but we are literally the faxing agency. But we do, the other thing that is really nice is the state of Ohio provides a chat with Charlie. Charlie Norman is our state deputy registrar. And this is a picture of Charlie. We actually had Charlie on a few years ago whenever we Zoomed him through Cable 15.
Yeah.
Charlie is a very active registrar and probably the most active that I've seen since I've been here. So they have a live chat now. So instead of sitting on hold for 45 minutes, if you have basic questions, you go to oplates.com, you chat with Charlie, and if you have a question, hey, I looked at my online profile, I don't know what this means, you can chat with Charlie. They may be able to answer some of those questions.
Oh, that's great.
So-
Then you're not having to waste everybody's time.
Yes.
So, okay. So there's any number of reasons why somebody needs to take advantage of this amnesty day. And to be honest with you, I can't tell you how many people that I know that have been like, I got pulled over, they said I had a warrant, and I had no idea. And I think that happens probably more than you'd know, because it could be for something that maybe you didn't know that existed. Like, I don't know, is there a warrant for like parking tickets and stuff, or like if you would have a parking ticket and not know it, or
Parking tickets are a city function and
okay.
kind of handled administratively through the police, so we don't see parking tickets at our place. So.
I know one time back when red light cameras were a thing.
Yes, yeah.
That was a pain. I let someone borrow my car
Yeah.
in Columbus.
Yeah.
And got a really nice $85 red light camera ticket, and old Jen wasn't the one driving it. So
we're not plagued by those here.
But that I think they kind of ixnayed the red light cameras anyway, but through a few different manners. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, so there may or may not be. I would assume most people have a warrant, would know. But they could come from anywhere, Judge Musick's court. They could come from Common Pleas court. They could come from Mayor's court, probably. I don't know.
They pop up for different reasons. Right now, we have about 1,800, 2,000 active warrants in our system.
Just in Jackson County?
Yes. And that's a lot.
And some may be way more extreme than others, right?
They are, yeah, sure.
Like, what would be an example of something that would be like low level and then on up to?
Well, sometimes folks call these things we call blocks, using the right word, warrants, and they're not
necessarily
right. They're not necessarily going to get arrested for a block, where they traffic ticket person misses court on a low level speed. They get a block for not coming because, and there's a reason to do that if you think about it, but they get the block, and where they might get arrested is if they're out driving, and
did you know you don't have don't have a license?
Because that's a misdemeanor of the first degree and worth 180 days in jail. So it's more dangerous to go out driving that way. Because it's you'll get another ticket at the least, cited in at the least, and might get locked up overnight or till the court sees you. It could happen, but it's not your old thing; it's your new thing. Well,
then you still have to contend with the old thing.
Right. to prevent that risking getting locked up, people really have a chance here to get in. The bulk of those warrants, Jennifer, are people who've missed court. Failure to appear warrants.
Okay.
And we find the population is afraid to come in once they've missed.
So it's like this vicious cycle, right?
Yeah.
For most of them.
It starts, and then they're afraid. They're like, oh, they're just tricking me. They're trying to get me in that room so they can arrest me or whatever. And there's also this vicious cycle of not having your license, because if you don't have your license, then sometimes you can't work. And then if you can't work, you can't pay your fines. And so you all are trying to help people get out of this vicious cycle.
Right. And yesterday I had a great example of a fellow whose name I just happened to remember, because I remember years ago talking about this fellow's name with then prosecutor Jack Deddy.
Yes.
And I've noticed as a practitioner and a judge, the name pops up. It's always the same thing. Always driving under suspension. Well, the guy comes into court yesterday for arraignments, and I have him there, and driving under suspension.
Again.
And not a horrible gentleman, but his driving history is 17 pages long. And so
oh my gosh.
I'm just kind of going down memory lane and thinking about why we remember his name and all. But we set up his case to come back for a pretrial to deal with his current illegal driving, and he'll come back. And we ran the BMV report, the step-by-step guide, the profile, and for 17 years, and this suspension, somehow time cures so many things with licenses too.
Okay.
What does this guy have to do actually to clean his license up? He has to do a $625 reinstatement fee to the state of Ohio,
Okay.
BMV, and Seth might address that what they run into there because we send them to the license bureau, do your reinstatement fee. He has. I don't even think this guy is required to get the high risk insurance. Now, by driving this time, if he had insurance, he won't be. But if he didn't, he'll be disciplined by the BMV again
Okay.
and suspended. It's a cycle.
This vicious cycle. Yeah.
But it was just some fees because all the suspensions wore off. So you go
Oh.
to Seth, and then Seth could explain how they might approach that. The guy says, "I want amnesty on the money." How would you approach that?
Yeah, so we have two different applications that we hand out, and again, no decision making from us, but we can get you on the right path at least,
Yeah.
and that's why this.
Advice.
Yes,
It's
yeah,
great.
and before I get into that, what sometimes those people come in and say, "Hey, I think I owe $625, and I need to send an SR22 in." Which is a high risk insurance basically for a certain period of time. The state may say, you've driven so long without, or you've shown you've got to carry an
You have a
SR22
pattern.
bond,
Okay.
and you have to
Okay.
carry that for X amount of time. Well, unfortunately, if someone says, "Hey, will this order take care of me?" We can't say yes or no. We can say we'll fax it. We'll get a
try.
response back in an hour, and your response will either say it did or it didn't. If
Okay.
it didn't, try something else. But what we do have access to are the two applications, one for the BMV installment and payment plan, which not every single person qualifies for a BMV installment plan, but I see most of them come back positively.
Okay.
And then it's a $25 minimum payment a month with a hold over top of your license. It says if you miss 1 month,
It's gone
it's
again.
gone.
Mhm.
I mean, and there's not even, I can say just from customers' experience, I've talked to people that said, I missed it by 3 days. It was gone.
Yeah.
If
We ain't messing around
yeah,
here.
it's correct. And I think the state's saying, okay, years ago we didn't have any installment plan. Now we're letting you have one, but it's $25 a month.
Well, we're not messing with you if you don't follow it.
That is correct. That is correct.
Yeah.
Well, then we also have an amnesty application that we're not directly involved in. But the amnesty application is if you're indigent, if you're not working at the time, if you have certain criteria, possibly disability, you may be able to file that amnesty. Now, you will not get a response back with that within an hour. You will get documents sent back to you in the mail. So that's
Okay.
not necessarily an instant gratification. The BMV installment plan, most of the time we have that response in an hour that says you qualified. Sometimes we've had customers come in and say they made me put $100 down and then they set me up on the plan.
Okay.
But if someone owes a couple $1,000s in reinstatement fees, that's a way for them to get their license.
Sure. Because the guy yesterday said, "Why haven't you done anything, sir?" "Oh, I can't afford it, the money." And
Right.
he didn't know how much it was or that he could make payments possibly.
Right.
So how does one, if they come to see, Judge Musick here and say this fellow, for example, how does somebody get started with this application process? Obviously, probably on the amnesty day, you all can help with that, but just a normal everyday situation.
Well, and essentially we can help with that every day. The problem we run into sometimes is, we're fairly busy. And not that we're not willing to help, but sometimes people don't know what to ask. And they may come in and think that they're asking for a payment plan application, but they really are meaning an amnesty because they don't know the difference. Or they may be
Okay.
asking for the amnesty, but they're not ready for the amnesty yet because they would have to fax something to the reinstatement first asking for that block to be lifted.
Mhm.
So there's a process that we sometimes, I don't want to say fail, but sometimes if we don't know what you're asking,
It's misunderstood.
and then we're limited to what we can even answer when it involves reinstatement. So then not only do they not know what to ask, it may be something we're not able to answer.
Okay.
So at least with this amnesty day, we will be able to say, listen, folks, first one, disclaimer. You may not qualify for this, but if you do, you can do this. But the simplest thing is almost everything that we do can be done on your online profile. So if you have a smartphone and you can set this up, other than submitting the documents, to Columbus.
Because you have to do it through the fax situation.
But other than submitting the documents, everything else can be done online. You can make your payment on there. You can apply for your amnesty through online.
Okay.
You apply for the payment plan online. So, and then it doesn't cost you that $10 other than the faxing of the documents.
Okay.
And I think they do that for security issues to ensure that those documents are going to a central point, to a location that they know it came from that fax number. This is not a fake document, or
That makes sense.
at least if it were a fake document, it was presented to us that way.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a layer of security.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are things that if you know what to ask. So this Amnesty Day that Judge Musick is leading, and want to give him all the credit. He's put this all together and
You
just
come up
asked
with
me.
the best ideas.
Well, we have good
really, you
partners,
do.
good
No,
partners.
I think it's very progressive.
Yes, it
what
is.
We're doing down here in Appalach.
There are some progressive parts of it that other counties don't do that should be addressed. But Seth's kind of hitting on them about this $10 thing, and
Yeah.
so we used to be able at the court to do this release thing, for example, from our court blocks, and shoot it to Columbus email. Can't do that anymore. We got to print it out, give it to the person. Hope they don't lose it.
Person has to go then to
Down
Seth's office.
down
Well,
Veterans Drive there.
so okay, let's differentiate your offices too,
Okay.
because a lot of people, as the clerk of courts, you work in the courthouse, have an office in the courthouse, but you also oversee.
I am here today representing myself as the contracted deputy registrar for Jackson County.
Is it the DMV now, or
well,
the BMV?
Bureau of Motor Vehicles.
Which
So
one
it's
is it? I
B-
can't.
BMV, yeah.
BMV.
So
Yeah.
actually here for that portion of
So
my
you have
position.
that hat
That's
on
my hat
at this
today.
moment. So
Yes.
we're not talking about Seth being in the courthouse today. We're talking about the office, which, by the way, has BMVs get a bad rap. And I say this every time you're here because they're notorious for rude employees and rude customers and whatever. And you guys run such a great ship out there.
Well, I appreciate that.
People are very, your staff is kind. They will go kind of that extra mile to help you out if need be. They don't treat you like crap. It's great. It's a great
Thank you.
experience.
Thank
I have people that I've told, like, come down to live in Columbus. I'm like, come down to ours. They're super awesome.
You would
down
be
here.
surprised how many out of county
Yeah.
customers we get.
I'll bet.
The and I think also, I want people to understand about frustrations. Seth's getting back from Columbus the only answer he can get.
Correct.
He can't give you the answer, so people shouldn't take it out on
Right.
those folks, or they just have to keep kind of pecking away at the problem, and
Yes.
the local office isn't the problem.
The local office is not the problem, but you can advise on the solution
I wouldn't
in a
even.
way.
I can advise you how to get to
How
your
to get
solution.
to the
Yes.
solution.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so nice about your folks, that there'd be a lot that would just shut down and not help you at all.
And there are times, again, like I said, there are times that we do fail because someone doesn't know what to ask, and then we don't do a real good job of asking back, "What do you need?"
Mhm.
But
I can see
but
that.
we are happy to help if we know
Communicate.
what we're trying to. But this is why what he is holding is so important. If nothing else, if people leave that day and now know what to ask, our job becomes so much easier, because
Yeah.
then they know what I'm here for, an amnesty application because I'm indigent and I'm trying to have fees waived. And that's where, if they know what to look for and ask for, then we can get them in the right direction.
Okay. So who would be the perfect candidate to show up on Amnesty Day? And where exactly is it? Is it in your court,
Sure,
Judge Musick?
sure.
Okay. Who would be somebody? Give me a couple of
Many-
scenarios of people
Many
that
examples.
that should come that day.
And of course, everyone I'll give you has a blocked driver's license or a warrant blocking their driver's license. But you can go as far as, say, a shoplifter who didn't come to court. Now, while we want to deal with that case seriously, that person has missed court. They've gotten the warrant block, warrant for their arrest. Nothing's going to work for them. They get nervous. A lot of people do, I imagine. I would be.
Right.
Then they get afraid. Oh boy, I'll go to jail for sure now for missing court on top of my theft case. my shoplifting. And that's an example of a person who might lay out there in the cold for years
Mhm.
until they have police interaction. So what that person would find if they would walk in the doors, because every day can be Groundhog Day, every day can be Amnesty Day. If that person would come in,
If they have
where
faith in you and
it,
you're in the system.
we have not determined whether that person's even guilty or innocent of that charge. We don't know that we have a guilty person. They're accused.
Because they haven't shown up to court
We,
for
we
that to
can't
be
we can't
decided.
get started because it
Yeah.
goes in the hold column because we can't set a pretrial or a trial, invite all the witnesses and the cops and everyone because the star of the show, the defendant's not going to be there.
Mhm.
We can't count on them. So that person should come in. What happens typically is they get stopped in traffic or something else happens after 5 o'clock. and, and it's like Sergeant Sean Wellston tells them, well, you're going to have to go to jail because I got a warrant here for your arrest.
Mhm.
And it's after closure hours. If you want to avoid jail, go to court. Just go to court because we got to get that person in and get them back in line in the system.
They need a plan.
Well, we
know?
try sometimes. We give them another citation, a reminder, come to court. If that doesn't work, the next time they're going to jail for sure. And Sean's advice, if you don't want to go to jail, just come to court, it pays off. So, but that person in the daytime could come in on their own without being handcuffed and arrested.
Yeah,
And
like the guys in the ninja suits are not going to tackle you in
no,
the lobby.
I promise. And
Like they have other things to do.
I'm not lying. I'm not lying, honestly. And especially on Groundhog Day, it's our promise that no matter what the offense, except felonies, we can't control Judge Reagan's docket.
Sure.
But come in and we will not arrest you. You will not go to jail.
Okay.
And we just want to work with you educationally, preventively, and to help heal that driver's license.
It's win-win for everyone.
I think you'll find in Ohio that licenses are going to be a hot topic in the coming year.
Really?
There's been a thing, House Bill 38, bouncing around, where folks have tackled it in its current version. It's not going to work because it just needs a lot of work.
What's their point behind that one?
It's to some people call it dispensing with money-based suspensions of license. Because what happened years ago is when I started practicing, we had two statutes. We had no ops and we had driving under suspension. And it didn't get too harsh. But agencies in state government found out they could go to the legislature and get a statute of their own that said, look, you're not doing what we want. So like child support, we want your license suspended because you're not paying your child support.
Okay.
So, which kind of made a lot of sense because you couldn't go to work. But at
Right.
any rate,
Again, back to that vicious cycle.
and it had no privilege. No immunity judge could give a privilege with that. Well, then the legislature said, well, wait a minute. We need to be able to give
Yeah.
the judge the power to give a privilege. We got that. And then CSEAs still, their feathers maybe are a little ruffled. They still are slow to put that privilege on sometimes. But they're just trying to get the kids paid for, and I understand that. But we can do that. There's a
Okay.
way to do it. But the movement in 38 is to do away with those types of suspensions that are money-based or for an unpaid fine or something. Well, if you do away with unpaid fines, that speeder coming through here from Nebraska,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to give him his ticket on the side of the roadway,
Mm-hmm.
and he's gone.
Yes.
And Seth can explain that right now we have the ability to tie up that Nebraskan's license.
Okay, that I was gonna ask that. Like, is
and-
that a thing?
It's a thing. And the problem is if we do away with that, if we don't think about the repercussions of doing away with it, the state of Ohio would the legislature will have to fund revenues that replaces.
Yeah.
Okay, would need replaced.
Yeah.
And so they and it's big money. It's what pays for bridges. It pays for highway patrol. It pays for roads.
Correct.
It pays for the running of parts of government.
Yeah, just because you live out of state doesn't mean you get a free pass to go zooming through Ohio and then not pay your ticket.
And Seth's just started to touch on it in a couple of areas. There's questions of reasonability, and I've spoken with our counsel at the Ohio Municipal Judges Association, and different courts have different policies
Mm-hmm.
because we're big into home rule in Ohio, I guess. But at our court, I walked into a rule that said, you owe the court $3,000. We're going to tie your license up until we get every penny.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's the more common rule in Ohio.
Okay.
And I said, well, that makes a lot of sense because I don't, I worked, practiced law here a long time, and a lot of my people came in the door, they didn't have $3,000. So
Right.
I authorized the staff and to start taking payments, and they do. And I don't know the big deal because if they default on their payments, we can block them again.
Well, and that's the thing.
And
I mean, listen, we're a payment society.
mm-hmm, yeah,
You don't go out and pay cash for a car. You don't pay cash for your house unless you're very fortunate.
there are courts that or judges that will tell you they use the single block method, though they want all the money because of ease of administration.
Yeah, I
Well,
could see that.
ease of administration versus servicing the public. you know,
Yeah.
we're creating monstrous situations by tying up hundreds and thousands of licenses
That don't really need to be.
that we need to give them a chance to dig their way out of the hole. Reinstatement fees are the same thing. I think reinstatement fees, which I can't sit here and I'm not authorized to say why they were invented, but they seem to duplicate everything courts do. I think it's believed that it has a more centralized function, is more efficient. Don't know. It seems like we pretty well could do everything at courts of Ohio that BMV does. But nevertheless, for example, OVI people, they have the fines, mandatory fines and costs, and they also have a reinstatement fee to the BMV.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand the need for that revenue other than the need for revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, and one thing to just piggyback there, as a reminder for folks that you may be sharing this information with, or if it's for you, it is,
Right.
we kind of call it the thumbprint rule. No one has the same thumbprint. No one has the same reinstatement answer. Okay. So we have people a lot of
Okay.
times come in and say, well, my friend, all he needed was an SR22 because,
Gotcha.
well, it may have been part of a speeding ticket and yours wasn't. May have been part of an accident. Yours may be from a failure to appear. And that's why the state doesn't want us helping and doesn't give us access, because every single reinstatement situation is
Different.
unique to what revised code did they use? Is the block for the speeding itself or for failure to appear? Did they appear but never pay the fine? Is it from a felony case? Is it from another case, a county? There.
Sure.
Did you already have 4 points on your license instead of 0? So now that compounds so when we say we genuinely don't know, but we can give you the number and the direction to go, that is the case, because every single reinstatement, I would assume it's the same for you. His order may not be a blanket order for everybody that walks through, because everybody may have a slightly different situation.
That makes total sense.
and you'd ask about different examples of people
Yeah.
with the warrants, and the shoplifters one, but there are so many others. Just people who failure to come to court for anything. But
Yeah.
what we need to do is get that case back on track. They need to come to the window. So we're dealing with the right person. We can't deal with a phone call because that might be somebody messing up, impersonating you, and trying to mess your case up.
Yeah.
So if we're dealing with you, we'll get you back on track. Then what Seth's saying about the thumbprint, I like that. What we do at Muni Court, the best example I can give is called LDP, or limited driving privilege.
Okay.
Modified driving privilege, where you are suspended, and to some degree, not for the payments of monies owed other courts, but there is a statute that says we can consolidate all your affairs, even from other counties, and give you a driving privilege if we have a case with you. Don't know how well that really works, but you could. Now, So what we do is on the application is we kind of like get an X-ray like you would at a clinic.
Okay.
I order out the leads, which only certain people can look at. Police, authorities, law enforcement. I think Seth has leads.
No, we do not.
You don't have access.
No.
You have different levels of access for people who have access. Well, that leads tells me a lot. I order the BMV report, the step by step. I want to see the insurance documents and see if those are up to date. I want to see employment or where do you have to drive. So that I have them make a packet. We actually use purple file folders, and they send me a purple file with that person's application, and we look, and I can sit there and break down the leads and the problems. But again, the people that were at the former reinstatement offices were trained to do that and could go in depth underlying
Gotcha.
problems. Seth's folks cannot. They're not, first of all, authorized or allowed to,
That's correct.
but they haven't been provided the training to understand those underlying problems. So, yeah, everybody's individual.
You know, it's very interesting again how everything ties together. You know, and the fact that obviously you all have a great working relationship and have come up with this Amnesty Day as a way to help.
Trying.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about helping you get back on track. And
Yes.
you know, you've done that so many times, you know, in your career as judge. I think, you know, your shining star, of course, is the drug court. And you know, I think that you started the drug court and everyone went and probably all over the state. But I think it's been quite successful. And you know, you're a second chance person. I've always been a second chance person.
Well, what's the alternative?
Jail.
Right, jail, which is a finite resource.
N-
It's kind of like a
yeah.
forest. Once you use that jail bed's gone.
Yeah.
Once you cut a tree, it's gone.
Yes.
Okay, so you try to be conservative and use jail where it has to be. Um, Municipal courts cut off at that level, and we think in common pleas, the next level up, okay, prison, but we don't have that option.
Yes.
And working with the drug court, I'm glad you said that
Yeah.
because that's why we have to work on licensures. When we try to help people, the staff, the team tries to help people get their bodies healed and their finances in order,
Yes.
get a job. How are you going to get them there? How are they going to pay rent? Where are they going to live?
It's
But they gotta have a
intimidating,
license.
and yes, it's such a, like I keep saying, the vicious circle, but it is like it's just a catch-22. If you don't have the license, you can't get the job. Don't have the job, you can't pay to get your license back. I don't know.
It is. It is. That circle's right.
It's frustrating, but I think the great thing about what you're doing, both of you, is that you're trying to give people a second chance.
Well, I just want to thank Judge Musick because I don't want people to think I'm sitting up here that I organized this. I'm along for the ride, but Judge Musick called over Christmas break and said, "I've got this idea, and I really think you could be a part of it."
But you're an
And
integral part
and
of it.
and
Very much.
Integral, yes.
and we are for sure. And I don't want to take away from what we have to offer to help people. But the judge has always been very forward thinking and exactly what
Ye-
you're referring to in the sense of hands on with the folks
Yes.
to actually. I know he takes payments, he does things, but you can't fund government off of the indigent community.
Right.
And I mean,
Right.
Absolutely.
why would we hold someone hostage that has nothing? So if we can assist them in getting that license and putting them on the right track so they can go and not be indigent anymore.
Make them a taxpayer.
You know,
Make them
the-
someone that helps support.
So,
Right,
but
right.
but he's very forward thinking that way, and I do commend him for that, and I appreciate the opportunity to be involved. And we should all be collaborating more often to do things like this.
For
all,
sure.
all people in government and without can team up and do all kinds of fun things that are productive. And
You're
for
right.
example, I will say that you've been one of our partners in the employment area.
It is our
people,
privilege to
and
do so.
We've been so thrilled with your help over
We've
the
had
years.
such good
Yeah.
response from, I mean, we've just, our little team has done well together, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, it's been great. So, okay, let's talk for a moment about the logistics of the day. So, someone wakes up on Groundhog Day, they're like, man, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go in there. Do they just show up? What documents do they need? Are you going to be there as well, or will they have to go out to your office? So will they have to have transportation to both places? How does that work?
Um, I'll let you handle the court side, and then I can respond with my side. But
If I were such a person, I'd start at the court,
Mhm.
and I would
Just walk in the door?
walk in the door, and we're going to try to have areas set up. We'll have to have some triage, I guess, of like what's the
Oh, that's a
problem.
good way to put it.
And,
Yeah.
and I think once we've identified the big stuff for that person, we'll start them out at the big station for that
Okay.
type of problem. And let's say it's fines and costs. You might have one of three guys set up to talk to you about that, or three or more. And they've all done this stuff before. They're all trained. But let's say that's somebody Nate Miller grabs and can handle, and not grab, I'm sorry, but does intake on. Let's come over here and get in my line, and he'll sit down with them and have a business discussion.
Okay.
And it's like, again, nobody's going to get arrested. What would happen the Friday after this, or what happened last Friday? Same guy walks in the door, he sits down with Nate and gets the same business discussion. He doesn't get drugged to jail.
Yeah.
And here's okay. So
If you're
what
there
can
with
you
the best of
afford?
intentions, you're going to be treated with respect, right?
Right? What can you afford? What are you working? Do you have a stream of income? You've had payment plans before of very reasonable amounts, and you haven't done them. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll see if you can make a payment plan very low for 3 months in a row. Then we'll get the block off. Sometimes with people who've not performed in good faith.
Sure.
But generally, people can come in and right off the bat get some kind of plan. Maybe they put some kind of down payment on it. But we just want something that can work, that's affordable, that's not taking food out of the kids' mouths.
Yeah. That's not the goal.
But, and then let's say you might have another problem, but Nate will see that and he'll say, well, you need to go to talk to the attorneys here today from Southeast Ohio Legal Services
Okay.
because you have a judgment suspension from a court.
Okay.
And if it's our judgment, say a civil judgment suspension, and that's where the insurance industry comes in and kind of has a hold on that, where they work with the BMV hand in hand. But we can identify that if it's our judgment suspension, Southeast Ohio Legal can give the folks forms to file to ask for a hearing on the ability to make installment payments. Because when you look at your step-by-step guide, you'll see where you have to call, what law firm you have to call for what insurance company, and the
Okay.
amount you owe. I believe that shows up. You call the insurance company, and they give you their proposal of what they think's fair for a down payment and payments thereafter. And many times, let's say that could be beyond what the person feels like their means are. Well, the alternative is ask for a hearing. And you just have to do that in the right court.
And then show up.
Oh,
for it.
yeah.
You got to show
Please
up.
go to court. Yes. Yes. You won't go to jail for missing that kind of hearing, but you will thwart
God.
yourselves,
Yes.
But yeah, you just have to follow the guide, go to the right court, ask for the right thing.
Mhm.
Like Seth says, knowing what to ask for.
Okay.
So the experts on Groundhog Day will be there to show the people what to ask for and how to ask for it and where to ask for it.
Okay. Perfect. And then that's where you guys come in.
So our ultimate goal, is to staff up that day, and have a table essentially at municipal court and have a
So you
representative
will
there.
be there. Okay.
Yes, and then also potentially the goal is to have an extra person working that day that will be maybe at the end counter, not on the normal station, so we can still wait on everybody. That will be,
Just handling.
reinstatement. Now, they won't be able to answer questions, but what we're hoping is they got the information they needed at municipal court. They drive down, now they can go in and they already know the questions to ask and what to send.
Okay.
So I'll probably bounce back and forth. I think we're fairly confident that we're going to have a representative from the reinstatement office out of Columbus.
Oh, cool.
So,
That would be great.
and then that way I'm not locked into there and answering questions I'm not supposed to or don't know.
Okay.
They will have more knowledge. We'll have the applications at both locations. We'll have the brochures at both locations, and also step-by-step instructions on how to view your online profile. And I'm sure that we can arrange a laptop that day.
There's
I
going
was
to be
going to say that
laptops
would be,
available.
yeah, that
So
would be great
we've
if
got
people don't
everything.
have access to
So
internet at their homes or
so
whatever.
we plan on being active at both places, but primarily what we would encourage though is definitely go to the court, because there's no sense in paying us the $10 fax fee if we find out that he can't help you that day yet, or you have a block from another county. Now you've kind of,
And sometimes it's a yet.
yes,
We'll get those
Yeah.
applications for privileges, and I will do an entry, have the clerk send it back to the applicant to say, well, you have to do ABC first before this court can help you. And we try to tell them,
Okay.
but
But it's all
it,
about the communication.
his word individual fingerprint,
the thumbprint. Yeah.
thumbprint is perfect because everybody's so different.
They are. By the way, I had to get fingerprinted the other day for my liquor license, or no, for Airbnb license in Columbus, or liquor license. I've been fingerprinted so many times, all for, knock on wood, nothing
You
bad.
get a mug shot too?
But no, yeah, right. But so I went into the Airbnb office and they do the background checks right there, and she goes, "Oh." And I go, "Oh, what?" And she said, "I'm just going to tell you." And she turned around the monitor and she goes, "Don't ever commit a crime." She said, "You have the most vibrant fingerprints I have ever seen in my entire life."
Wow.
And I was like, "Heard. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. I will I'll try to." And she was like, "Look at these things." And I don't know. Crazy. I'm like, "Okay, who knew?" But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But so, okay, my one last question. We have a couple minutes left, and I think you touched on this, but if someone comes into the Amnesty Day, they've been in trouble in Jackson County, but they also are in trouble maybe somewhere else or have a block or something in another county. Maybe they know, maybe they don't. Can you all advise them on that, or at least pull up their records and say, well, we can help you out here in Jackson, but you're going to have to go to Ross County to take care of some stuff too?
Our only access to that would be the same access that they have, just in getting them on the online profile.
Okay.
And what it'll say on that online profile is, it'll say, the status of your license. Do you have a standard or compliant license? Can you fly? And here's what and then underneath it'll say if your status is, blocked, or I forget. They use different terms depending on what
Okay.
but if you're blocked, it might say you are blocked because, and it'll have a BMV case number. BMV case number, yada, yada. And then it'll say Adams County Municipal Court. And then it'll say
Okay.
Jackson County. So
That's specific.
we specifically don't have access to that. But if we have laptops that day and we have public terminals that day, with a little guidance, they will see that and then they'll know that.
Okay.
We'll also have printers to provide the BMV report, or the. It doesn't say that at the top anymore, so I'm not sure what they call it. But
I was just on it yesterday preparing for this to make sure that I was, but I don't know if it has a name. You're right.
it might not have a name now.
It's a report.
Yeah.
There's a paper we
report
want to
thingy.
give you. We want to put in your hand.
Yeah. So you know.
It's a roadmap.
For sure.
So, but the last thing I'll leave with this: when you go and get your documents, and this is completely again just advice from what I've seen. When you there's no cost to fax more than you need. Okay.
Yes.
So a lot of times people come in and say, I've got one piece of paper here. I'm going to pay the $10 faxing fee. Well, they gave me these 3 papers too. I'm not for sure if to send them. What do you think?
Send them.
Well, number one, we're not allowed to give you advice on what to send. But my advice is, if the court hands you 15 pieces of paper, or if you have 3 pieces of paper from the insurance company,
Send it all.
fax them.
Yeah.
There might be a date on that 3rd page that is the difference of whether or not you get it.
Yes.
That's true.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Way better to send more than you need.
Right.
So, okay. Well, very good. Amnesty Day on February 2nd, time starting
8 a.m. The
8
doors will
a.m.
open on Groundhog Day
till
4.
the groundhog will have made his decision by 8 a.m.
Yeah.
So it's fine. So 8 to 4, February 2nd, please get in and take advantage of this day that these fellas have so kindly worked together and done for you all out there that might need some help along the way.
It
So,
will help everybody if we up the the eliminate the suspended licenses. It's just the local GNP economy, more employable people.
Yes.
It's harder to get everything staffed now because people can't get to work.
Yes.
Well, we can eliminate the problem.
Yes.
We can eliminate the worry, the grief, the nervousness.
Sleep at night. Just
Yeah.
think about all that. Like
Yeah.
what the lift off of you if you got all that stuff taken care of.
And again, every day that the court's open can be Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Or Amnesty Day, because we're primarily interested in getting you back on track on these warrants, not locking you up. That barring you having a bunch of other problems, like Seth would say, you might, if you're wanted in another county, I can't help it.
Yeah.
But the purview for the pickup, especially since COVID, is not nearly as wide as it used to be. So we have no duty to necessarily act on your warrant from Ottawa County, because they do not want to come pick you up, and it says that in the thing. So
okay, well, very good. Well, thank you so much for spending your morning with us.
Well,
we
thanks for
appreciate
having
it. Judge, if you ever have anything else you'd like to discuss, please do so. I would love to have you back to talk about the license situation. I know they keep pushing. What are they called again?
So the federally compliant license to be able to fly, they have extended that again until May 5th of 2025.
Right.
So the requirements have not changed. If anything, it seems to be maybe a little more, we don't have near the problems that we did with people needing their documents. So people are catching on and more people are getting it.
If I already have that license and have to get a renewal, do I still have to bring all the 50,000 documents in?
Not as of right now. Originally, back in 2017, they said you would have to. They did away with that. Who knows whether who knows whether down the road they'll make you do it again. But what they're telling us right now is no. And now that we offer for people between 21 and 65, the 8-year driver's license, that's even better now. Yes.
Where's that been all my life?
It's been here for about a year.
Oh,
and
know about it.
Not been your whole life, but about a year. And between 21 and 65, and the only exception to that is there are a couple rules. If you have a CDL with a tanker endorsement, there are a couple.
That would make
sense.
But
you can still get it for 7, but it's just a glitch in the law that needs to be caught up. But anyway, you can do an 8-year license now up until the age of 65. That's one less trip. It is double the money. I mean, they're going to make their money, but you don't have to go back in. There's a lot of online services they provide, but then the county doesn't get that money when you use some of those online services.
Will you, if I have to look at the license for 8 years, will your ladies in the office make sure the picture is decent?
Well, off record, we have a certain standard of picture, but we do try to, if somebody closes their eyes about halfway, we'll say, well, maybe we'll redo that.
We'll just snap that again. All right. Well, I'd love to have you come in and we'll just talk about that, how that came to be, why it's important and all that too.
Absolutely.
So we'll do that a different day. So guys, thank you so much. Of course, Judge Mark Musick and of course, Clerk of Court Seth Michael. Thank you for spending your morning with us. Please take advantage of this Amnesty Day. It's a great thing and you can't go wrong. So have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe out there. And snow's supposed to stop here, I don't know, sometime today, but it is a bit deceivingly slick out. So watch yourselves and we'll see you right back here on Monday. Thanks for watching. Bye, everyone.
And it's that slow falling snow with big snowflakes, so it's going to be adding up pretty quickly. They're saying at least another inch throughout the day. Highs will be around 30 degrees with wind picking up this afternoon and making it feel a lot colder than that. In fact, tonight we'll have some wind chill values as low as -2, and looks like around 10 degrees for your overnight temperatures. So we got the snow. Now it's going to get cold, but I will say they are calling for a little bit of a January thaw next week. So with all that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at everything we know so far this morning.
Severe weather update.
And again, it is a mess out there, so if you don't have to be out, I encourage you to stay in this morning. Gallia, Vinton, Athens, Jackson, Pike, and Scioto counties all under level 2 snow emergency. At last report, level 1 snow emergency for Ross County. All the local schools through the area are closed for the day, but we'll give you a rundown of what we know for sure. Buckeye Community Services Adult Day Services is closed today. Buckeye Hills Career Center, the adult campus and high school campus closed today. All the schools like Christian Life Academy, Eastern Local and Pike, Gallia County and Gallipolis City closed. Jackson City, Minford Local Schools, Oak Hill Union closed. Ohio Valley Christian School closed. The Scioto CTC is closed today. The high school side and the post-secondary daytime as well. All the University of Rio Grande campuses are closed for the day. Bern Rife School is closed today. The SCDD program is working on a 2-hour delay. Benton County School is closed today, and Wilson City School is closed today. Up in Ross County, Bishop Leger, Pickaway Ross CTC, the Pioneer Center, Ross County Christian Academy, and Unioda and Zane Trace all closed. In Athens, Tri-County Career Center is closed, and Alexander and Athens City Schools closed as well. Here on the local level in Jackson County, Jackson County government offices working on a 2-hour delay this morning, and also the Jackson County grand jury that was scheduled for this morning has been postponed. More information to come on that, but if you were scheduled to be a juror there, you don't have to report this morning, and they will be sending out letters with more information. And we did receive word from Seth Michael that the Jackson County Clerk of Courts and B&B office